Hello and welcome to another video on the channel. Today we're going to be looking at this Sega Game Gear I got recently, and we'll be going over, well, basically the operation of it, and then going to be changing the capacitors inside. I'll turn it on, I'll show you some of the issues it's got, but first I'll just go through what I got with it. I got this Logic 3 bag that holds the Game Gear inside, and 4 games, Sonic the Hedgehog 1, Sonic the Hedgehog 2, Spider-Man and Tasmania. These are all pretty good. I couldn't really get into Tasmania, but I'll give it another go, I guess. So I will show you the Game Gear working with a bit of Sonic the Hedgehog. So I bought this, this come up for a really good deal. And I thought I'd go for it. So I've had one of these before, but it didn't actually work, whereas this one does work. It's doing the same as the other day. Oh yeah, there's the image. There we go. So that's the sound on full. You can just about see the game there. I'll reposition the camera, we'll do a bit of gameplay, and then we'll tear it down and we'll see what the damage is. So here it is. This is actually a really good angle because the screens aren't great on these, and I don't think they were when they originally come out, but it being a colour screen, it was a big thing for its time, and it is backlit, so you can play this in the dark. Now if I tilt the camera, tilt the Game Gear, you can see the viewing angle changes, completely white there, and then tilt it towards you and sort of comes back. Overall, the condition of the handheld is really nice. It hasn't had much use from what I can tell, so it is in pretty good condition. There's a bit of scuffing on the screen, but nothing too bad, as you can see there. It might just buff out, so that's something I'll look at. We've got a volume rocker, as I said, that is on full. So there's the first issue really. We've got a headphone jack there. We've got I think it's just labelled EXT for like console link, because I think there was like 2-player games you could link them together and do that with. We've got I think it's a 9-volt DC input, and the power switch, as well as the cartridge slot there. This is a US console. Bit strange that it's over here in the UK, but whatever. I don't think it changes anything, because I believe the Game Gear is region free, so the brightness toggle there, again, that's on full, and we'll bring it up close. So the screen does look better in real life. I don't know if you can tell. You see how there's sort of lines down the screen when things are on it, like the Sega there you can see in the S, and like different elements on screen will show lines, vertical lines. I'm hoping the capacitor kit will rectify that. Well, the other thing you can see is it's almost like the pixels are wearing in the top right there. And there's a bit there at the bottom. I'm not too worried about that because it does play nicely. So the other issue is with the sound. There's a high-pitched whine from the speaker at all times, and that is on full volume. I'll put that close to the mic. Hopefully you can hear that. So now we've seen the console, we'll take it apart and we'll go in and see what the damage is. So I'll turn the console off. On the back it's just Phillips head screws for this one, this one, this one, this one, and then when you take the battery covers off, underneath the batteries there's one either side, one in there and one in here. You will have to take all the batteries out, obviously. We'll go ahead and take them out. And then the other tool you need is underneath the cartridge slot. There's space for a game bit, which is kind of like the one Nintendo used, where it's like Torx but the opposite of it, because the points are on the outside instead of inside. Maybe I should just show the screw. That's the game bit. I just used some pliers to get it out, I wasn't too bothered about it. So that one's in the top slot. I'll just take 2 screws out here that are put in. So on the inside we've got the main board here. All these little black sort of rectangles are the capacitors. And then on the bottom half of the console you've got the audio board and then the power input, and that handles the power from the batteries as well. This is the rocker for the brightness for the screen, and then that's the audio one on the board. So I'll just do a quick close-up of the board. We've got 2 capacitors here. These look pretty clean. It doesn't look like there's much corrosion on the board. Well, not for these anyway. And then I think over here, this is where the main lot are. There's quite a few there in a small space, including that big one there. And then the power board has got some through-hole capacitors. You can see all the circuitry down there. And then this is my main concern. When I said the audio board, you could hear noise. Well, if you see that there, you can see that some of the resistors have got corrosion on the contacts. I think that would actually be from the capacitors leaking, so that's going to be the issue for this one. Hopefully replacing the ones on the main board will fix screen issues, just to help clear that up a little bit. Obviously, because of the age of the screen, it's not going to be like the technology we've got these days for displays, but it's going to be more to what it was originally like than what it is now. And for capacitors, I bought this pack from a company called Z Labs on eBay, and these are all through-hole Nichicon capacitors, and the blue ones are for the audio board, I believe. I've got the capacitors here for the audio board. These are through hole and these are surface mount. When I'm trying to desolder surface mount capacitors, what I tend to do is, using the iron, I'll heat one side and gently lift it up a bit, heat the other side, lift it up a little bit more, and just go back and forth heating either side before the capacitor will come off completely. Then what you want to do is you want to get a desoldered braid and gently heat the braid against the pad to remove any of the old solder before you apply your new component and your fresh solder. Now we've got the first capacitor removed, I'll just show you a close-up of the board and the corrosion on the smaller components in the middle. Here I'm using the desolder braid, as you can see, the copper coloured material. Just put your iron on top, and I tend to wiggle the iron back and forth, and you can see when it'll start to make a difference. The braid should go solder colour in colour, and that's the solder being sucked up by the braid. Now, because these capacitors aren't the original surface mount style, the through hole, we're going to have to solder them onto pads that are on top of the board. Notice how big they are in comparison to the surface mount originals. You will have to bear this in mind when putting the console back together. Now we want to tin the pads before we solder in the new capacitor. It also helps to tin the legs on the new capacitor. Another thing that did help was bending the legs on the capacitors in different ways so that they sit better, or if a capacitor I had like solid against the board, flat, I would bend the legs down to meet the pads. I did have some issues with heat with this board, so I had to turn the temperature on the soldering iron up higher than normal. So now you've seen how I've soldered one capacitor on there. We'll just get the thing back together and we'll go from there. Now I've got it back together again. This is actually the second time. In the original attempt at putting all of this back together, it wouldn't work. Turned it on, you just get a white screen. So I had to go through all of the components, everything I'd touched, everything I'd soldered nearby, just to check. I'll turn it on now, it does work now, and then I'll go in closer and I'll show you exactly what my mistake was. So we've got the screen's really clear and the audio is so loud compared to before. And it goes all the way down, all the way up. Definitely loud. And the brightness works. So it seems the issue I was having was actually caused by these pins here. What I'd done is when soldering this capacitor on, I'd actually gotten a blob of solder on the last pin. And it's not that it was shorting it out, it was that I hadn't actually, when I removed it, I'd used the desolder braid and that had taken all the solder off the first 3 pins, so they weren't actually making contact properly with the board, which I think was causing the white screen issue. So once I'd gone back over those with an iron with a bit of solder on, that fixed the issue. So now we've got it back together, let's take a look at some games on it. We'll start with Sonic 2. Show you how loud it gets now as well. Oh. Oh. Right, that's enough of that. Show you a bit of Spider-Man. Played a bit of this last night. It took me ages to figure out how to get in the window on the building. I'll see. Okay. So we're pro at this one. Not that much of a pro. Ah! That's how you do it basically. You gotta spider web up and then grab onto the wall like that. The people in the rooms keep batting you down kind of thing, so. Yes. It took me a good 20 minutes yesterday. So today I actually got 2 more games that I bought. Shinobi and Columns. I mean, it's a game you've got to do for this console. There we go. The charm. Oh yeah, that's better. Oh yeah. Sounds good. Oh. Yes, I will try again. Ah! Oh no. Okay, well you get the gist. Right, let's try Columns again. Oh. Hey. This is one of the games that you can play versus with the cable in the top and another Game Gear. Oh, sound. Oh, so it's like Tetris, but no. And Bejeweled, I think it's like that as well. Yes. Oh, this is very relaxing. Yeah, I'll probably play this the longest because it's easy. That's the spirit. Oh yeah. Lovely. And again. Lovely. Oh, aye. Oh, yeah. Alright, anyway, let's end the video. So, what do we think of the Game Gear? Well, it works now pretty well. You can see all of the capacitors there in the back, quite a few. Picked up 2 extra games, so we've got a nice little collection there. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Hopefully it was informative and it might make you get your own Game Gear and do this. Thanks for watching.